En de angst bij Joodse Amsterdammers. Maar ik moet wel zeggen dat ik in de dagen daarna heb gezien hoe het woord pogrom propaganda...
That's the voice of Amsterdam's mayor, Femke Halsema, speaking on national Dutch television on Sunday, completely backtracking on calling what happened to Israeli Jewish visiting soccer fans in her city 2 weeks ago a pogrom. The mayor now claims the word's been weaponized for political purposes, including by Israeli leaders, but also by far-right Dutch politicians who are anti-immigrant and some say want to scapegoat Moroccan Muslims and other Dutch people of Arab origin who may have taken part in the violence. When 10 Israelis were hurt, 48 suspects were placed under investigation, including some Israelis, and there have been calls to strip Dutch Muslim nationals of their citizenship should they be convicted of participating in the anti-Semitic attacks on November 7th. Israeli tourists were forced to flee on special El Al evacuation flights, and Israeli leaders say the Dutch government ignored their advanced security intelligence warnings that anti-Jewish violence was going to happen amidst heightened tensions after October 7th, even more than the usual ugly soccer hooliganism with anti-Semitic overtones that's been on display for years in European soccer stadiums. Now, the mayor's change of tone earned her a rough reception when she met with several hundred Amsterdam Jews on Sunday night. So what does the Jewish community now want to happen, and what's it been like for them living through the shocking reminder of the pogrom of Kristallnacht 86 years ago?
And finally, the people are waking up, because the next stage is, well, somebody's going to get murdered because of discrimination or racism or whatever. And I think we need to start addressing the issues where the Jewish community is really being hurt.
I'm Ellen Besner, and this is what Jewish Canada sounds like for Tuesday, November the 19th, 2024. Welcome to the CJN Daily, a podcast of the Canadian Jewish News, made possible in part thanks to the generous support of the Ira Gluskin and Maxine Granovsky-Gluskin Charitable Foundation.
In Berlin, rumors are spreading.
Holocaust victims, their bodies are just dug up.
It's a shunda.
But the truth is even more unnerving.
Was your family in the Shoah?
Dude looks like he was in the Shoah.
As the world panics...
This is some ritual, bringing the dead back to life.
No, you said this wasn't illegal.
It isn't, I don't think.
One woman seeks the truth.
These are questions you can't answer.
And you're too afraid to even ask them.
Justice, a Holocaust zombie story. An original audio drama from the CJN in association with the Ashkenaz Foundation. Listen now at thecjn.ca/zombies or wherever you get your podcasts.
It's been nearly 2 weeks since we saw those videos out of Amsterdam showing gangs of anti-Israel Dutch men hunting down and beating up Jewish Israeli soccer fans. Local Jewish leaders have been meeting with the mayor and with national politicians frequently since that violent night, demanding measures that sound very familiar to us here in Canada. They want more money for security. They want bubble legislation to ban anti-Jewish protests near places of worship and at train stations. They want a ban on protesters wearing masks on university campuses. And they want the Netherlands to ban Samidoun and other pro-Hamas terror organizations, just like Canada did a few weeks ago. They do want a ban on slogans that call for violence, including From the River to the Sea and Intifada Now. To find out more, we're joined by two prominent Dutch Jewish leaders with strong ties to Canada. Dave Helbrun is on the board of CD, which is a pro-Israel lobby group in the Netherlands, and he was born in Holland to a family with Holocaust survivor grandparents. He grew up in Toronto and moved back to the Netherlands. Annette Betzalel is a filmmaker in Bussum, a town outside Amsterdam, where her husband is the cantor at the local synagogue, and she gives tours to school groups about the Holocaust. We've interviewed her before on the show. She wrote a book about her non-Jewish neighbors successfully hiding the Weffer family for 1,000 days. The Weffer parents and all the 6 children survived the war and later moved to Canada. Welcome to the CJN Daily.
Thank you.
Hello.
I really would love to hear your personal connections, where you were. You're in Amsterdam, I guess?
Yes.
And Annette is southeast of Amsterdam, about 25 minutes away, right? Bussum.
Oh, ladies first. Well, actually, I was in the shul where I received a group of school kids And we talked about the history of Judaism and the Jewish community in Bussum. Just a bit later on, my son called me. He lives nearby the Ajax Stadium. He had been at the metro station and he said it was mayhem there with Maccabi fans with a lot of slogans, and he was very worried about what was going to happen.
Slogans against the Palestinians, against Gaza.
Well, these are also the things you hear in the stadiums in Israel, but the other way around in stadiums, anti-Semitic and racist calls. The worst, type of human beings, the football hooligans. That's how I feel it. The soccer fool. Yeah, it's a history of really horrible things.
Dave, where were you? And I mean, you're obviously a community representative close to the action.
Yeah. So the night before actually was the Kristallnacht commemoration, and I was the master of ceremony. I finished the commemoration at roughly 8 o'clock. Everybody, part of the group who I organized this with, went to the stadium. I went home. I went to bed early because I was quite tired after organizing such a commemoration. There were 700 people, by the way, in the synagogue. The next morning I woke up and I saw these text messages in my phone. And then all of a sudden at 9:30, 10-ish, I got a call from the secretary of the Labour Party leader in the Netherlands. She called me. She says the Labour Party chairman would like to talk to you because there is apparently a thing happened to the Jewish community, not only in Amsterdam, but also of the Israeli supporters. And then 10 minutes later, I got a call from the American ambassador who also said, oh, can we help in some way? So I thought, oh, this is going the wrong direction. I immediately called the chairman, Hanan and Hans. They were already preoccupied. Apparently, Hanan was already called out of his bed at 2:30 a.m. that night, trying to help because his son was involved with this whole matter as well. He was on the streets at 2:30 a.m. And yeah, we just went in crisis drive from there onwards. So, I mean, in the afternoon, we organized a big meeting with the mayor of Amsterdam, and in the evening, I spoke to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. So the whole thing started running like a roller coaster, basically.
Well, you said that the chairman of the group that you represent, his son was, quote, involved. What does that mean? Was he? Yeah,
so the chairman and his son are a proud supporter of Ajax. So they go almost every fortnight, every 2 weeks to the game at the stadium. But at 2:30, he called his dad and said, Dad, things are going the wrong direction. I'm helping out Israeli supporters right now and also Amsterdam supporters who need protection because taxi drivers are going after them. So Hanan and himself were constantly coordinating transportation of all these Israeli supporters to safe houses. Not only safe houses, but also to hotel locations and other Jewish houses, etc. So that was happening. But he encountered himself these bullies who were on motorcycles and mopeds and whatever. And he explained this also to the Prime Minister because I was there. He was quite emotional about that, what happened that entire night.
You spoke to the Prime Minister. Politically, what support or what reaction has the community in the Netherlands received, and from which corners, and who hasn't?
We have received official letters from the Protestant Church, the Central Protestant Church, the Catholic Church, the Buddhist community. We haven't heard anything from the Muslim community, nothing whatsoever, which is surprising. We got notice from the Muslim community in France as an official, we're sorry, but not from the Dutch Muslim community.
Annette, have people reached out to you to show support or to ask what they can do? What's your experience?
Yes, absolutely. I'm very active in the whole region, Hilversum, Bussum, and this area, with all the churches that Dave mentioned, but it also includes Muslim communities. And we've been meeting for years now on a basis of like 3-4 times a year. And last night we had a meeting, and there were 25 people informally getting together with the mayor and other people from the town hall. They expressed support and they expressed worries and they expressed a very strong will to keep up the dialogue. It was very comforting to hear that. Besides that, the local police, like within 5 minutes, they were here. They were asking what's going on. There was more. They upskilled the security measures. So as much as you can feel safe, but yes, we did. We have a big WhatsApp group. Everybody mentioned, don't worry, our ears and eyes are there to help you out if anything would happen. My husband is the cantor at the community, religious leader of the community, and we live next to the shul. So, we are a little bit of a target, but...
What about this word pogrom? Can I ask you, because some people say it was Wilders, I hope I said his name right, the far-right leader. He's the one that actually started the whole thing with the word pogrom. And then other people like Rabbi Jacobs, who was the chief rabbi, said it's not a pogrom.
I think we are so, with reason, oversensitive of what happened here during the Holocaust, both from the occupying German armies, the Nazis that invaded Holland, and the collaboration of some of the Dutch people. We are very, very oversensitive. It's a trauma that has not healed yet. So a serious incident happened. It might be a little bit too easy to get into the lexicon of the Holocaust. And I'm very worried. We should be really, really more careful with using it. There should not be inflation on anything that happened during that time and things that happen nowadays. It was a horrible night. It was terrible what happened, but we have to be very, very careful with the words we chose and use, like Rabbi Jacob said, and also the liberal Rabbi Sutendorf, who spoke on television together with his Muslim colleague from The Hague. We live in this country together in Holland. We cannot leave, and they will not leave. The Muslims will not leave. They even, most of them were born here, 3-4 generations already. So we should learn to live together, and it's very, very risky to start using the lexicon of the Shoah. I'd like to hear what Dave thinks. I don't know.
I fully agree with you. The thing is, we need to put pressure on the government. So we do use the word pogrom. And the reason for that is, since the 7th of October last year, we've had continuous discussions with the government that they need to do something. We've got these so-called sit-ins by pro-Palestinian organizations here in the Netherlands, where they occupy the train stations, whether you're in Amsterdam or Utrecht or Rotterdam or The Hague, and particularly when it comes to high holidays, for example, or commemoration days, it's ridiculous. So that's one. Two, we've had issues with universities constantly. This has been happening since May. We've put pressure on not only the local government, but also the national government that they need to do something about this. You should have the opportunity to demonstrate. But the thing is, it is getting too much into to the Jewish community. So there are Jewish students who go to university who are being really hurt by what's happening by these demonstrations. And thirdly, we've had the opening of the Shoah Museum in March, I think it was, where President Herzog was here. I welcomed him as well, personally. And the opening was just overkilled by this huge demonstration just outside of the museum, which was ridiculous. So you have all these people who survived the Holocaust, who took their grandkids to this commemoration, and they were yelled at, which was ridiculous. So the mayor basically allowed this to happen. And I think maybe sometimes you need to exaggerate your expression of pogrom to make your point clear that enough is enough. And I think now, articulating the word pogrom in the discussion with the government, it is of vital importance that something needs to be done.
We also have just, as you know, outlawed Samidoun.
The most astonishing thing is, Germany is only, 150 kilometers east of us is where we are. The Netherlands is a relatively small country. It's the size of, Prince Edward Island, I think. And these similar laws are in Germany, and they're not here in the Netherlands. And I think I'm convinced that the government now sees that we need to have the same kind of laws and legislation put in place as in Canada, as in Germany, for example.
During the coverage, we've heard things that they were yelling "Conquer Jew," "Cancer Jew." What is that, and how does it sit, and where does this come from?
So my opinion is it comes already from soccer. I think that's the origin from where this "Cancer Jew" or "Conquer Jood" comes from. And it has to do with the rivalry between Ajax and Feyenoord. Feyenoord is the soccer team of Rotterdam. Soccer is the most important sports, like hockey is in Canada or baseball is in Toronto. And Ajax has always been quoted as being a Jewish club and Rotterdam as being, the proletarian club. Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but that's how it is anticipated in this country. And the Feyenoord supporters has always been addressing the Ajax supporters as being Jewish, while most of the players and most of the supporters are not even Jewish. So I think that's where the history comes from.
Yeah, but you shouldn't forget that the use of the word cancer has been, in many curses, and instead of the F word, they use that. And so if they just add the Jew in the same way, people will yell cancer Muslims or cancer teachers or whatever. Since the Ajax fans have called themselves the Jews, the super Jews, and waving their Israeli flags and all walking around with the Star of David without knowing anything at all about Judaism, it's like a reaction a bit to that. And yeah, they don't know Jews. They have never been in a synagogue. They have never met a Jew in their life, many of them. So it's a weird history.
On that point, you've taught Holocaust education for years. Since October 7th, how has that changed for you or impacted? What is it like now?
The very first few months, we felt very unsafe, especially some of the members of our community, and we decided to stop the school visits. So instead of that, I went to the schools, if Moses to the mountain and I gave a presentation about how the shul looked like and what we do there. And we exchanged all kinds of opinions. And so I did that to a lot of schools, including schools with a lot of Muslim kids. And recently we've reopened the doors for school kids. We had pancakes in the sukkah party with several groups. I've been here for over 30 years, and this is a second generation that comes. They tell me my dad was here as a kid. They remember their whole life because it might be the only time that they ever go to a synagogue. And they walk out as different people, different kids, as when they walked in. I'm very much for normalization of, taking ourselves out of that special niche where we're in. Come on, we're normal people. Walk in, you see that the shul doesn't look very weird or anything. And, the reactions since October 7th have been overwhelming. When you walk to the shul and there is a big vase with roses standing there, we're behind you, we're thinking of you. Letters by the hundreds, mails, like really kids draw pictures and send us letters, incredible. Schools that instead of coming to us, send their mails. We were so touched by that. It was unbelievable. Not a single, and that's the difference with being in a big city, where also every neighborhood has a different character. In this area, for 30 years, we've had these school visits. It has made a change. It has made a change. I really, really believe that.
I'm surprised but happy, but I'm sure it's going to be different where you are. How, since October 7th, is it for Jewish people to walk around, to live the Jewish life in your part of Amsterdam where you are?
Before 7th October, we already had some issues with regards to anti-Semitism. So I've been on the board for over 2 years now. Before 7th of October, we were constantly discussing with the football organization here that something has to be done with all these name callings and such and anti-Semitism on the streets. But yeah, we didn't get much attention. 7th of October happened, and all of a sudden the focus completely changed. So also from our organization perspective, we got more attention, but we also got more threats. So we had constantly been in discussion with the government, but also people were afraid of wearing their kippah or wearing their Magen David and such to show how proud they were as a Jew. I mean, in some areas of Amsterdam, you have a big area in the south of Amsterdam where a lot of Jewish people live. It's okay to go there. I mean, a lot of my friends go out for dinner there. There are a couple of kosher restaurants and such. It's easy there. But if you wear a kippah in downtown Amsterdam, it can be harsh, especially after the 7th of October. So you get yelled at. So to give you another example, last year, this was after 7th of October, I was wearing my kippah because we organized an event at the Jewish Museum, not the Holocaust Museum, but this is the same area. So I was walking outside and I forgot to take down my kippah. I'm not that Orthodox. So I was yelled at. I don't give a of being yelled at because I'm not afraid. But yeah, that's the feeling what's happening in Amsterdam. It's also a huge city compared to Bussum, where Annette lives. But so we have more groups, various groups of individuals living in Amsterdam. But still, yeah, you have to. It's become a little bit more hasty with regards to discrimination.
I know that, for example, the Anne Frank statue in The Hague was defaced twice. And I know that the palace was defaced with red blood. But in terms of your synagogues and things, have there been firebombs? Have there been shootings at schools like we have?
No, nothing has happened at synagogues and at schools, so Hebrew schools and such. And that has to do with the fact that we have our own security organization, which is called Blue. Not blue with the color, but blue is literally meaning bij leven en welzijn, which takes care of the Jewish community. So we have, and it's all funded by ourselves. It's not funded by the government whatsoever. We are, by the way, also addressing this issue with the government right now, that this is unacceptable anymore, because going to synagogue is always being protected, not only by Blue, but also by the police. So there's a huge police force in Amsterdam. So that's the reason why thankfully no attacks have been done against these Jewish buildings or organizations or whatsoever.
David, is it true that what happened to some extent, the police did not intervene right away because of the moral quandaries they have because they support? Is that true?
No. I mean, I strongly believe the Prime Minister, because he was the former head of the intelligence organization of the Netherlands, which is comparable to the CIA, and he knows all his facts. The police were with 800 people, and the hit and run which happened that night was so quick, it's impossible, even with a force of double the size, to take charge of this matter. So it was literally impossible.
What I've heard so far, that there was absolutely no intent of letting things happen, but there was a miscalculation. They underestimated what was going to happen, and they were focused on the wrong area, namely next to the stadium and not in the center of town.
The thing is, however, is that we were in advance notified of this could happen. And the reason why this could happen, for example, myself, I'm quite well known, not only in the Jewish community, but also outside as being a day-to-day Jewish representative. And for example, Uber drivers have not been picking me up since already January, February of this year. So I'm on a list, and not only me, a few other members are also on the list. So we have addressed this issue already since January, February of last year. And this was all organized by, I can literally say, by Uber taxi drivers here in Amsterdam. And we've been addressing this already for a couple of months to the government.
Are people telling you, people who live in the Netherlands who are Jewish, say that it's time to go and move to Israel or get out?
Yeah. Well, that was already the case from my perspective. I go to an Orthodox synagogue here in Amsterdam called Amos. And I was during the high holidays at the synagogue, and I was speaking to a lot of people there. And a lot of these people who are my age have kids who are about to go to university. And all these parents are saying, I'm sending my kids to university in Israel. Because one, it's a lot safer. It's safer there, even though there is a war. And two, my kids are not safe at university anymore. So that's happening. And what happens after that is, of course, these parents, as soon as they retire, they go to Israel as well. So that's the discussion that's happening right now. They don't feel protected. Two, myself, for the first time in my life, I'm a Canadian and a Dutchman. Where is it safe? Because also in Toronto, I mean, my sister lives in Toronto. My aunt and uncle live in Toronto. They're talking about also not being safe all the time when they go to downtown. So where is it safe for a Jew in this world today? The only safest place really is Israel, even though there are these wars happening outside of Israel and sometimes in Israel. But I think that's the only place for Jews to live in peace, so to speak. But that's my personal opinion.
My daughter made Aliyah in August. She went back to Israel. She lived there for some time, and she left Israel because of she didn't like the way the society moved there. One part of her friends didn't want to speak to the other part of her friends. The polarization there was hurt her very much. But she decided to go back in the end with her 3 children. And there have been moments that I've been really worried when they were in the shelters when the Iranian rockets were raining down on them. My granddaughter of 13 was on her bicycle, and her mom reached her on the phone and said, "Where are you?" Yeah, I'll just cycle very quickly to get home. I said, you're running away from the rain. Go into the next shelter that you can find. Israel is an obvious place to go. I lived there for years and years, but let's hope that it will become a safe place. And that will also change the situation in the whole world, not just in Israel itself.
I really, really appreciate it. It's great to meet you. Thanks so much for being on the CJN Daily.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's what Jewish Canada sounds like for this episode of the CJN Daily, made possible in part thanks to the generous support of the Ira Gluskin and Maxine Granovsky Gluskin Charitable Foundation. Our show is produced by Zachary Judah Kaufman. Our executive producer is Michael Freeman, and our music is by Dov Beck-Levine. If you want to learn more about the Amsterdam soccer connections to anti-Semitism, check out the links in our show notes to the CJN Menschwarmers podcast, where they talk about anti-Semitism in soccer stadiums, and hear Annette Bezalel's story about how her small Dutch town rescued 8 members of the Veffer family of Toronto. Thanks for listening.